In this video, we're going to take a look at calculations involving tax on our income, and this particular question deals with a standard rate of tax at 20% and a higher rate at 41%. Now you can see down here I've started to set up the calculation already because I know, and we should know at this stage, what it involves. So I know I'm going to need to calculate it, the higher rate at 41%, the standard rate at 20%. Now, for a single person, the annual personal tax credit is €1,900 and the standard rate cut-off point is 28,000. So that means that up to €28,000, this person is going to pay tax at a rate of 20%. So I can fill that into my table here. So I've got 28,000 at a rate of 20%. So what I could do here then is, instead of multiplying by 20 divided by 100, what I could do is I could just multiply by the decimal. If I multiply by the decimal, it's a quicker way. It's the exact same process, but just a faster way of writing it down. I'm going to get the answer here, which is €5,600. Now what that represents is the amount of tax paid by this person at the standard rate. What I now need to find out is the amount paid at the higher rate. So to figure that out, I need to find out how much money is being taxed at the higher rate. So if we earn 40,000 and we've already paid tax on 28,000, well, what's left over? What have we got left to tax? So I've got €12,000 left over. Now that 12,000 is not being taxed at a rate of 20%, but 41%. And when I do that out in my calculator, I'm going to get 4,920. Now, to figure out my gross tax, gross means the entire amount, all of it added up together. So I'm going to add these two, and what I'm going to get here then is 10,520. Now, that's the gross tax. That's not all of the tax that I'm going to pay back, because in Ireland we have something called a tax credit, and this person has a tax credit of, so we've got our 10,520, their tax credit in the question was €1,900. How do I get then what my net tax is after I've used up my tax credits? So what we're going to do is we're going to subtract those two. And when I subtract those two, what I'm left with is 8,620. Now that's Jerry's net tax. We're not asked to find the net tax, we're asked to find the net pay. So how do we figure out the net pay? Well, if he earns €40,000 that year and he pays a net tax of 8,620, that's a deduction. And what I do is I subtract away the tax, the net tax, from the gross pay. And what I will get then is my net pay, what's left over. So the net pay here for Jerry is €31,380. So for the second part of this question, we're being asked to work backwards from somebody's net pay to get their gross pay, or what they earn per annum. So in the question we're told that she has the same tax credit, and what we'll remember from the last question is that it was 1,900, so I'm going to write that down for myself. And then we have the standard rate of cut-off point is also the same, so she's still going to 28,000 at 20%. So we've got the same rate and the same amount. So we've got 28,000 at a rate of 20%. Now we know what her net pay is, and we're asked to calculate how much she earns per annum before tax. So let's think about that again. Well, this is her net pay, and how do we calculate net pay normally? Well, we get our gross pay, and from that we subtract our net tax. So we need to figure out the net tax and the gross pay. Now what we know about the gross pay is that it's at least 28,000 plus some amount x, which we don't know what that is. So plus some amount x, take away the net tax, which I don't know what that is, but we can work it out, is equal to the net pay, which is 34300. Now, let's talk about the net tax then. What we know about calculating net tax is that there's a system to it, just like the last time. So we've got the standard rate, which was 28,000 at 20%. And we know what that value is. We calculated the last time to be 5,600. We know what the higher rate is, 0.41, but we don't know how much that was. We do know, however, that it was the extra amount at the end. So I'm going to put in x for now. I'm going to use algebra to help me solve this. Now, what is 0.41 multiplied by x? Well, 0.41 multiplied by x is 0.41 x. Now, how do I calculate gross tax? Well, if you think back to the last part, what we did was we added those two numbers together. So I'm going to add them, and I'm going to get 5600 plus 0.41x. Now, we know what the tax credit is. We know that it's going to be take away, and it's going to be take away 1,900. And what that's going to give me then is the net tax. So when I put those two together, 5,600 and 0.41x and take away 1,900, what I'll do is I'll group my like terms like I would normally do in algebra, and I take away 1,900 from the 5,600, and I'm left with 3,700 plus 0.41x. So that's my net tax. Why did I need to know that then? Well, if we look back up at our sum here, we said that if we could figure out the net tax or an expression for the net tax, we could fill it back in to this formula. So let's get that. Now, we know what the net tax is in terms of x, so I'm going to replace that now. With 3,700 plus 0.41x. And if I tidy that up as much as I can, well then I'm going to have 28,000 minus 3,700. That leaves me with 24,300. If I have x take away 0.41x, I'm going to have plus 0.59x remaining. And that's still equal to the right hand side, which has had no change. Now, how do I solve a question like this? Well, we have to say, okay, what's the target here? I want to get x on its own. So the first thing I could do is get rid of 24,300. How am I going to do that? Well, what I could do is subtract 24,300 from both sides. And when I do that then, what I'm left with is 0.59x is equal to, when I subtract those, I'm going to get 10,030. So 10,030. And how do I get x on its own? Well, that is 0.59 multiplied by x. So to undo multiply, we're going to divide. So again, whatever I do to one side in maths, I must do to the other. When I have 0.59 divided by 0.59, they undo each other. It becomes 1, and we're left with x is equal to 10,030 divided by 0.59, and what I get that to be is 17,000. Now that's not the end of our question. That's only just told us the value of x. What it's not told us is the gross amount. So what I'll have to do is the amount she earns per annum, her gross pay, that's going to be the two values added together. So the 28,000 and x, which we've now just found. So we can write that out. So we've got the 28,000, which we said she had at the beginning. So let's write that out. So 28,000 plus the x, which we've now figured out to be 17,000. And when we do that, we're going to get her gross pay working backwards, which gave us €45,000.